Cowdin here in Colorado, you know. Went into a little session here on my garage, the setup I got going here in Colorado, and sending it down to my good friends at Undiscovered Classics, Jeff down in Tampa, Florida, the founder, of course, of Undiscovered Classics, and then Mike Puma up in Buffalo that's taken huge strides, built his collection up to double digits now. So I'm going to do a little session here, what I've got going on here with the fiberglass stuff. I've got 9 fiberglass cars now. I've kind of got the whole fiberglass fever. I caught that. Started off with the steel cars, you know, when I first got into cars. And we'll talk about kind of how I got the fever of the fiberglass cars. But today I just wanted to give a kind of an overview of my setup here. I wanted to share with you my cars and a few things going on. And so we're just going to get started here. And of course, a lot of people don't understand or remember that a Bricklin, that's fiberglass. It's got acrylic on top. So this is my newest of all the fiberglass cars. This is a 75 Bricklin with a 351 Windsor in it. But all the other ones then are from the 50s. But this one's a driver. Love this one's got the gull-wing doors. A lot of fun on this. Maybe we'll talk about this a little bit later. But the centerpiece of my collection, of course, then is the Woodhill Wildfire Idaho Special, which normally parks right here. And it's not here today and hasn't been here for a couple of months now because it's over at Dick Shelton's shop. Dick is the fabricator in charge of the restoration project. He's well into that one. Hopefully here in a future episode, we'll go over there and take a look at that. But it normally parks right here. Once again, he's refabbing a whole bunch of the stuff on the frame. Some of the stuff was kind of jury-rigged and Mickey Mouse, even though it went through the duration of the movie filming and doing a lot of the heavy-duty race scenes. Some stuff that we're trying to beef up and bring a little bit more up to date. But parks here, and right behind it is I've got a lot of the posters I've collected from the movie Johnny Dark, and it's like I think a little over 30 or so from around the world. And perhaps we could be a future session, even though perhaps about the posters of Johnny Dark. I've got to think about it, almost 10 countries like that. We have Germany, Belgium, France, Mexico, and Argentina. Oh, Italy. Gosh, we got Finland. So let's get going and start looking at some of the fiberglass cars in the collection. This is the one I just finished up in the restoration recently. This is a 1951 Micklitsch here. It's fiberglass body. Like I said here, this is a one-off. Once again, one-off is the term we use when they just built one. No, there's not another one that looks anything like it. This is the only one of this kind. It was built by Mr. Micklitsch in the mid-50s. Got the concept up, sketched it up, and started building the car up from scratch. This car has headlights. It's got tail lights. It runs. It's got electric start. It's got, let's see, forward and reverse. It's got it was licensed in New Jersey, or excuse me, in Indiana. It was licensed. It was legal to drive this around, and his daughter did drive this around, Tara. And got some cool video of that too. I want to be able to share in some future episodes. But you can see really nice instrumentation. This is how you can control forward or reverse on that little lever right there. So this car has been a lot of fun to restore. Got to become good friends with the Micklitsch family, especially CJ, Tara, Joe, Kathy, you know, all George. What an awesome family. So, and that's another thing of this whole fiberglass thing is tracing down and doing the history of the cars and learning the history of the cars. And then if you're lucky, you can get a hold of some of the family members. And what a pleasant journey that ends up being on the journeys I've taken on the cars with research. The families are really nice. So sitting next to it is this little tiny, this is a metal car. This is not fiberglass. This car kind of found me. Sometimes that happens when you've been doing this as long as me. This little amusement park car, I bought this on the premise it came from the Lakeside Amusement Park, which is still one of the longest running amusement parks here in Colorado, or excuse me, in the U.S. And so I found out that there was a book written on the Lakeside Amusement Park by David Forsyth. Bought the book and couldn't find any pictures of it, so I tracked down David, and actually me and him have become friends. He's got another book he's working on another amusement park right now that's coming out next month. So he contacted the owner of the amusement park and the owner's daughter, who's still around. And unfortunately, this car is not from the Lakeside Amusement Park. We wiped that out once and for all. But he's doing research on all the amusement parks around the state. So the cool thing about that is hopefully he's going to find out which amusement park this is from. So this thing is just kind of cute. Like, once again, it found me, and I've already collected quite a bit of stuff. I forget where the little bin is. New old stock parts now with headlights and stuff like that. So once again, we don't have a name for this little guy other than, pardon me, amusement park car. So, and then once again, here we got the Bricklin. It's the newest of all the fiberglass cars. It's got a whole steel structure, and then it's got the fiberglass body, and on top of it had acrylic, like a woman's nails with the acrylic on it. Malcolm Bricklin, he is the main sales guy, very similar type guy persona as Woody Woodhill was for the Woodhill Wildfire. Very much of a salesman, made all kinds of promises that the engineers drove them crazy. Promises, some of them he couldn't keep, on being able to bond the acrylic to the fiberglass. He announced a number of times that they had that down. They never had that down. It was driving the engineers crazy. They could not get the two to bond well. Had a lot of problems with cracks up in here, a lot of warranty issues, and they went out of business. Only sold, I think, about 2,500 of these. This is one of the later ones, like with the Ford engine, the 351 Windsor, which is the small block Ford. But once again, this is the driver. This is a lot of fun to drive. And let's see, right here behind it, this was the second car I owned, Austin Healy. I bought this when I was 17. This is steel, so this was before I got into the whole fiberglass mode. Drove this through, starting at 17 in high school, all through college. For 9 years, just my daily drive. This got a Chevy V8 in it. It needs to be fully restored, but actually I've used this one so much, I'm probably thinking about parting with this one to make room for some of the other cars. But this one, had lots of good times with this one. Was a rock and roll drummer back in high school and college. I could fit my whole drum set in that, believe it or not, with the bass drum, 4 toms, too large, too small, the snare, all the cymbals, the stands, the stool, all crammed in there when I went to gigs. A lot of fun doing that kind of stuff. We got the door open. It's warmed up a little bit here. The sun's come out. We got about an inch or two of snow last night, but behind me here is kind of a crummy shot. Here is the Grantham Stardust. It's one of 4 survivors here. Once again, this is a working garage, so this is about as clean as it's going to get. So you do see some of our stuff here, the engine of the MG and some stuff. But so yeah, this is one of 4 survivors of the Grantham Stardust. Once again, this is the car will be worked on next by Dick Shelton, who's currently working on the Idaho Special Wildfire. We've talked about it. We got a game plan. This body was in pretty bad shape. It had kind of a bend in it. Chassis is a real mess. Collected almost all the needed critical parts for this car here. I think it's a really pretty car. There's one of these, the Tomahawk Special in the Johnny Dark movie. This one's not from the movie though, but this is one of the 4 survivors from the 50s. So I really like. I think the design of this car is real pretty. So tracked down the owner's son when we were in Hawaii on vacation and did an interview with him. He's since passed away. But a neat little interview with him. A lot of information on that on my little website on granthamstardust.com, of course, for that car. But so next to what do we got here? We got this is a steel car here. Just touch upon this. This was my first car. I bought this when I was 14. $100. It was a basket case. Had a paper route. I used the paper route to fund restoring this car. Had a lot of fun. You know, why is it painted candy apple red? Because that's what somebody in high school wanted it painted candy apple red. Living in Southern California, growing up in the 60s and the 70s, around all those hot rods and custom cars and stuff, and always wanted a candy apple red car, so that's what it was. Next to it, Jag type. This one's steel too. Just touch upon this real quick. Bought this when I was 19, just out of high school when I was just had started college. Picked this one up, didn't run. Bought this. Really love this car. This car is a driver. Going to update the interior, but just going to pretty much keep the paint the way it is. This car as a driver is going to have fun with this one here. So this is a 62 E-Type, by the way. That was a 58 MGA, and the Stardust a 53. So behind me here, what is this crazy looking thing? This is called a Crosley Hotshot here. Kind of a cute little thing. Some people said it had eyes with a smile and stuff. Does kind of have a little bit of character to it, but this is called a Super Hotshot. You had Hot Shots, you had Super Sports, and they actually had the Super Hotshot in between. Where it was a Hotshot that had a couple upgrades. It was I think it had a folding top. I think it had the bird and some upgraded trim here. It had one other thing that made it a Super Hotshot. Hotshot actually was 5 inches longer than most Crosleys. You would think, oh, they came out with a sports car. The Roadster would probably be the same chassis length or shorter, if anything. But no, the Hotshot and the Super Sports were 5 inches longer than all the other Crosleys. So this was what's got me into the fiberglass cars. This is what led into it. After I got this one, went to a car show, an all-comer show in the valley. They call it in San Fernando Valley, at the Sepulveda Dam Basin, and there was a car in the parking lot that had Crosley hubcaps on it. What the heck is that? And I had my girlfriend at the time. I asked her to go up there and stand next to that. Her name was Maria, so my wife now, and she reluctantly stood up next to it because I wanted it to have some scale. She didn't like the way it looked too much, but it had Crosley hubcaps, so started figuring out what it was, and finally determined it was a car called a Skorpion, based on Crosley's chassis. So I tracked down the owner of that car at the car show, Bob Carson, who ends up being a long-time historical guy in Crosley. He's known for making all kinds of trips across the country and across the Grove. He would drive his Crosley back and forth. He had collected a few Skorpions, and he had the one that he had at the show, and he had a couple more in his backyard, and this was one of them. And so I became friends with him, ended up buying this one off him, did some research on this one. And this one is the factory race car, but right next to it here is another one that I picked up after I had this one. Just going to touch on this guy real quick here. This was going to be my vintage race car. I'm going to restore this first one, the one I'm standing next to, and this was going to be the vintage race car. Kind of since changed plans, and I think I'm going to probably part with that one, make room for some of the other ones. So someone looking for a Skorpion got a nice, good, solid California car, but back to this guy. This one, did the research on this one. This is the factory race car. They had a couple. This is the one that had the 4-cylinder in it. This is the one that was built right when Viking Craft bought out John Wills, was the original builder of the Skorpion, and Viking Craft, Doug Crothers had bought them out. And Don Edmonds, who went on to IndyCar fame, was Rookie of the Year in 1957. He actually built this car at the factory and drove this car in a couple of small-time races in Southern California. Tracked him down, got to meet him. He's since passed away. And then also at the company, if I can correct, was Joe Henning of Indianapolis 500. He was the announcer there, also announcer at Ascot Speedway. Done a fantastic artist. Tracked him down, got to meet him. Went to his studio. But this one here, the factory race car, everything at Viking Craft was purple. And so that's why this car had to be purple. But I have done getting on the research on that, tracked down, all kinds of magazines and posters and things like that, some tickets from some of the races. You can see some of there right there. That's a Motor Trend article. You can see the woman standing on top. She worked out in the factory at Viking Craft Trailer Corporation. Got all kinds of stories from Joe Henning. She's sitting down inside there in a photo there you can see. And then the lower right photo, that black and white, there's Doug Crothers. In the background, you can see this Skorpion. It was called the trophy car, which sometimes they would bring what's called a trophy car to races. I believe that's at Ascot Park, I believe that one. Maybe it's Carroll Speedway. Or the one below it, this car has been quoted as racing in the Carroll Speedway. And actually it was spotted ahead of all the other cars, and nobody ever caught on to it. So it shouldn't have been spotted. I guess did pretty good. So got lots of stories. This was a lot of fun here. This one, I took all the gauges out, the original Stuart Warner wings, sent them out to the good friend of mine, Chris, the gauge guy, out in the Midwest, and he has beautifully restored these gauges. They are absolutely stunning the way he's restored them. I've got them in a box right now to go in it. Got all kinds of new switches, bought all the new old stock parts for this car. This car should be a fairly simple restoration. Kind of can't wait to get to it, but as you can see, I got quite a few projects lined up. Kind of funny story even about this. Got this little tiny door to be eligible to be raced. The cars had to have a door. Didn't have to have doors plural, but it had to have a door. So it's got this little teeny puny door here, which basically does nothing. It opens and closes. But anyhow, so lots of stories I want to share about all these cars. Let's kind of round up the cars in this garage here. This one's not a fiberglass car at all, but it's the last steel one we're talking about. This one I just kind of grew attached to. I bought this one when I was 19 years old. I saw it, just kind of fell in love with it. It's a 1931 Morris miner. A lot of people aren't aware that Morris made miners in the 30s. They made miners from the 1928 to 1934. And then they made some more in the 50s. And once from the 50s, a lot of people have seen the little Woodies and stuff. This one is just a cute little car. I love this one to heck. Got a dealer little sign I got from England. Got a lot of literature I've collected on this. Very hard to get literature on this car. It's pre-war, and a lot of England was bombed with the war and stuff, so a lot of literature was lost. So I've been collecting literature on this. Stuff I do have, I really cherish. So that kind of winds it up here in this garage. We're going to head over just next door. We got the other garage where we have the Meteor stored in it, and next to it we have the Studebaker Stiletto, the Victress, and what's the other one we got sitting out there? Oh, the Light Speedster. Used to be the Piranha. So we're going to head on over there now. Got a little space for the 1955 Meteor SR1. And this is the special one that Dick Jones was working on. He had narrowed it, and he had shortened the chassis on it. He'd shifted the driveline off center a little bit so that the driver, this was going to be a race car that he was setting up. And this one's got a neat little story. I'll just touch on it real quick. When Jeff was out doing some car hunting quite a few years ago, he stopped by, spent a couple of nights here at the house. We went up together in Denver and met Dick Jones. Dick was working on the car at the time. We met Dick Jones and kind of interviewed him and Jeff took some copies of some of the literature and stuff. And so the time went on and Dick passed away, unfortunately, and Jeff was able to acquire the car. But then just very recently, I've acquired a car from Jeff. So it's kind of a neat connection for me, having met Dick Jones. I've spoke now to his daughter, kind of updated the history on the car, on the Meteors now. It wasn't really a specific Meteor history written that I was aware of. It was kind of on the buyers, but on this one's kind of a neat one. So I really love this one that Jeff was able to get over into my hands. This one, Dick hadn't even cut out the headlights yet. I always kind of thought the front of this car was kind of pretty with the opening and the scoop. And I know Dick, when he built these cars, it was kind of modeled after the Ferraris of the time. I'm the poor man's Ferrari, but get a kick out of this car. Well, a lot of good things coming up on this guy. This one has a page on the website. And then outside, we're stepping outside. Like I said, it's warm. We got an inch of snow last night. Look, it's almost all melted away. All you guys with the sharp eye, what's the silhouette there? That's the Studebaker Stiletto right there here. So this one, we got all kinds of cool stuff. Like, I just got some neat stuff on this. I got some cool speed parts that I bought. Got them coming. It's a cool Edwards aluminum head fin and I got an Edwards dual carb manifold and Edwards really neat air cleaners for the carbs and the Carter carbs for that. Behind that, we got the Light Speedster. These used to be the Piranha. We've since renamed this one because this one never had an official name. But this is the Victress S4, excuse me. And it's got the only hardtop, removable hardtop. As for Merrill Powell, and he should know since he's the one that designed it and built the cars. He's still alive at 94 down in Phoenix. He's become a really good friend. But boy, there's kind of a tight little group with Jeff and Mike Puma. Mike's the one that dug this out. It's got the video that went viral with over 250,000 views on the Studebaker Stiletto. But really love this car. Got a lot of good things coming up on this car. So that kind of winds it about here. You can see right behind me, that was the main shop, the main garage. And we're going to head on inside and take a look at the literature library now. Be able to share some of the literature I've collected from the cars over the years. This rack here, I've got a lot of the manuals, got a lot of Crosley stuff I collected, 2 shelves of Crosley, got the pre-war Morris stuff. Over here's a really neat bookcase where I've got all fiberglass stuff in this one. You can see up here at the top, we've got a couple on the Micklitsch. Here's the Studebaker Stiletto. Got the Grantham Stardust. Here's the Light Speedster. Here's your Victress. Lancer, got glass bar. Got a shelf and a half of Wildfire. And then got a shelf and a half of the Skorpion. A lot of really cool stuff I'm looking forward to sharing in future videos. And one really neat thing that we're working on now, Okie Spaulding is working on a scale model of the Idaho Special Widow Wildfire. Here's a little Series 1.5, but he's doing a Series 2 model. It's going to be pretty cool. Looking forward to sharing that and all kinds of other stuff in future episodes. See you then.